Well, welcome to the Boxing Voice. I'm delighted to be speaking to one of the best coaches, if not the best coaches in the country, Shane McGuigan. How are you, Shane?
Good, thank you, yeah.
You've had a busy month, haven't you? Big fights after big fights.
I had Caroline Dubois on in Cardiff, then I had Ellie Scotney on the Ali Pali show, and then I had the Dazn brothers last weekend in Khan versus Brook fight in Manchester, and now I've got headlining Lawrence defending his world title for the and also Anthony Farrell. So yeah, 6 out in 4 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the fans are most impressed with what you've done with Lawrence, turned him into from this sort of somewhat ungainly, mauling style to a poised, explosive, one-punch hitter. When he came to you, did you find he had a lot of work to do in terms of fundamentals, or was it just more of a mindset? And
no, there was a lot. There was definitely a lot to do with fundamentals because he learned on the job. He only had about 26 amateur fights, I think it was. He was sparring AJ after 10 fights as an amateur, and you know, it's kind of like you figure a way to get through rounds, and you figure a way to try and find distance, but that's not actually teaching you the basics. It's almost better when kids come in early, when they're like 10 years of age, when they just drill the fundamentals because they know where their feet should be. They won't cross their legs. They won't take too big of a step or throw punches too wide. Lawrence had loads of power, but he's got a 6'9", nearly a 6'10" reach, and he's 6'5", and he is separating his shots too much. He was throwing his jab short, his right hand long. He was just missing it, making things a bit clumsy. So there was a lot of fundamentals. But I think I've been working with him since 2019 in March. I think we linked up. So yeah, a solid amount of time now. And he's really coming into his own. He's getting disciplined to be able to maintain the distance on the jab and not feel like he always has to land the shots. When he's got in there in the past, I feel like he's trying to land his power early to get respect, and he's missing a bit, and then it's getting it's tangling up. So I think the last few performances have really showed what we've been working on, because we had the Ngannou fight, the Ease Ngannou fight, that was quite a messy fight until Lawrence knocked him out. But since then, it really started clicking with him, and I'm happy with his progress.
yeah, he's come on leaps and bounds, and quite evidently for us, the fans. I wonder, for someone like Lawrence, who started relatively late, is he able to still develop quite a high ring IQ?
He's a very intelligent guy, he really is, and he's got a load of ring generalship, and he really gets it. So I think actually, if anything, that was probably one of the things he naturally had, and that's because he learned sparring, he learned in combat basically. He didn't. Yeah, it's easy to tell people how to deal with situations on the bag, on the pads, but then when they get in sparring, they see the red mist, or they get frightened, they feel vulnerable, so then that all goes out the window and they stop. They either throw punches when they shouldn't, or you know what I mean, or go into their shell. So for Lawrence, he already had quite good, he had a good ring IQ. So actually, once we worked on the technique and the fundamentals and keeping his base, maintaining distance, he was able to bring it all into. He was able to make everything quick.
Would you say he's peaking now as a cruiserweight?
Maybe, not really. I think in a couple of years' time he'll really peak. He's still got things to work on, but I think you're going to have to see him up at heavyweight to really see the best out of him, because he's going to have to go up to heavyweight to really be tested. Just my opinion. And I think actually you're going to see the best performances of it because they're a fraction slower, and they stand there a little bit longer. So he's got bundles of power, and with his natural speed being a cruiserweight, he'll be able to detonate them bombs. Guys that stand there a fraction longer. So I mean, look, there'll be some fighters up at heavyweight that might negate him, take away his attributes a little bit, but if he's matched right, I think you're going to see him really put on explosive performances.
And you're confident he'd carry his power up to heavyweight?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got Dan Dubois, who's probably the hardest puncher in the world, single puncher. He's an unbelievable power, and Lawrence is not far off that power. And he's a cruiser, so when he's around 100 kilos, 101, I think that's when you see him at Lawrence's best. He'll only be 95 or 96 on the night. and it definitely takes a little bit of weight out of his shots, but he's so naturally explosive. I think it won't. He can still knock any cruiserweight out, but when we move up to heavyweight, we'll probably sit around 100.
And assuming Lawrence Okolie
So-
will defend the title successfully.
Will we stay at cruiserweight for what? Another year?
I don't know. We'll have to figure out what what the opportunities are down here, because if the other champions don't want to fight him, then we won't be wasting time. He only boxed twice last year. I want him to be boxing 3-4 times a year, and if that means that we go to heavyweight to get those opportunities, then so be it. He has to train hard to get his weight down. He has to also have the right opponents, because TV and stuff, they don't want to see him fight guys that aren't on his level. So he'll have more people that are willing to take the opportunities up at heavyweight, and I think that's what we need to take it.
I did ask this to Eddie a couple of weeks back when I spoke to him, that a mid-range heavyweight fight probably earns more than a top-level cruiserweight fight. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
that's
definitely. I mean, if he was to box Derek Chisora or someone of that ilk, he'd make as much as he was going to make fighting Egorov or Gulamaria, the winner of Gulamaria and Egorov. Do you know what I mean? He'll probably make even more. He won't make the same as what he'll make boxing Bradis, but not far off it. So, and it's an easier fight in my opinion. You know what I mean, those guys, they're easier fights because they stand there a bit longer and they're not as sharp.
glad Derek's left when you said that.
Yeah, but he knows it. He knows that someone like Lawrence Okolie is a nightmare for his style. They're both with the same management, so they won't be having that fight. But yeah, he knows that Lawrence moved up heavyweight. It's an absolute nightmare for his style, because he's got good physicality, he's got long range punches, and he punches very hard. So yeah.
You're confident that Lawrence could beat many of the top 10 heavyweights now?
I think he beats, a lot of them, to be honest. I think we're going to, people like Hrgovic are going to be hard for us. But I'd like to put him in Usyk. I'd like to, obviously he's with AJ management, so that's not going to happen. But I wouldn't. I think someone like AJ would be still a good fight for him. Do you know what I mean? And, I mean, he does 8 rounds with Dan Dubois, who's an absolute beast. So he is a phenomenal fighter, and I think he can mix it with any of these guys.
Well, let's see how he does that cruiserweight. I mean, the sound of his punches and his hits and pads. I mean,
He's got loads of power. His power has never been an issue with him. It's just about maintaining distance for him. So yeah.
Look forward to Sunday. Hopefully, a good knockout. We just asked about some of the other fighters. You mentioned Daniel there.
Yeah.
Looks like Trevor Bryan. Is it fair to say Bryan's low-hanging fruit for Daniel?
Bryan will be a great fight for us because he's unbeaten. He's got the WBA regular belt, and I think he'll be a good fight. It'll be a good acid test for us. I'm not sure if it's going to go ahead, but we're still trying to make it. He's going to be on April the 23rd. So he'll be on the White versus Fury Underground. That's the date we're working towards.
Is that the sort of level you want Daniel to stay at for a year or so?
Not really. I think when the opportunity comes about, we'll take whatever opportunity we can take because, he needs to be motivated. We'd like the Joyce fight again, but I think it needs to be for something. Do you know what I mean? If Dan wins the regular title and Joe doesn't get his hands on the WBO, why not take that fight again? We need to get him excited and to be tested. So I don't think many guys are going to test him because he punches so hard. So they've got very good chins and good boxing abilities. But he definitely needs 1 or 2 acid tests before mixing it with some guys.
And you mentioned Anthony. You've got him tomorrow fighting as well. He's mentioned Felix Cash. Did you see the fight at Alexander Palace last week?
Yeah, look, I think Felix is a good fighter. He just obviously it's his first fight back in a while. He's had a lot of problems at home, and he's Tony and him have done a fantastic job. He's just vacated the British title, like Anthony to fight for a British title, then European title, and then we'll move on. Felix has just moved on past European level almost. He's going to try and fight for a world title. So in time we can always look at those fights, but for now we need to just knuckle down and make sure we get the win, and he gets a couple of good solid wins under his belt.
Confident Fowler can get to world level at middleweight?
I think so, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think he'll fight for world title for sure. And with the way that the middleweight division is going now, I mean, you've got Charlo sort of potentially going to move on as well, even though he's just moved up the middle, he might move on. Golovkin's at the end of his career. You know, you've got Eubank who's there and thereabouts. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of movement up in the middleweight division. So let's see what comes about.
A couple of the youngsters, obviously you had the Dazn brothers on the Khan undercard. Just wonder, I mean, young Adam has said before that he's got the fastest hands in the game. I just wonder whether you as a coach find when fighters, when they come with tremendous physical gifts, they often neglect their fundamentals and don't develop a ring IQ in the way, say, someone like a Crawford has, in the sense that they rely on their reflexes in the moment to simply pull the trigger. Yeah. And then we saw in the case of Khan, probably most famously someone like Roy Jones, when reflexes go, they get exposed. Is that something you're finding with young Adam?
No, because I think we're trying to work on making him the best fighter possible. If you look at Mayweather was a reflex fighter, but he had fantastic ring generalship, ring IQ, and he was able to slow everything down as it went on. You know what I mean? As he started to get older, and he was still able to win rounds. He was less exciting, but he was still winning rounds and still beating everybody because of his defence. I think, look, if it all comes down to the defence, people like Roy Jones, Amir Khan, they have no defence. Their defence is almost their attacks. Especially Amir Khan, his defence was his speed. And he just let them go. And Roy Jones was everything he was doing is speed as well and reflex. So, you know, Adam does rely on it, but he has very good fundamentals, good boxing ability. He's got very, very good defence. He sees shots well, but he also tucks up well. He can catch, block. He can do it all. So, you know, it's up to me to make sure that he's the most well-rounded fighter he can be before he steps up to when he gets tested.
Mm-hmm. Would you, as a coach, make of this modern phenomenon, as we've seen with Lawrence, that fighters are coming at a relatively older age, so they stay in the amateurs either too long and turn over pro quite late, so it's almost like playing catch-up compared to, say, days gone by. I mean, I spoke to John David Jackson, Clarissa Shields' coach, and he said it is a problem because he said in his day...
Definitely, it is a massive problem. I said to Dolla he should have gone pro after the Commonwealth Games, and Josh Taylor did. And Josh Taylor had to pay his way out of the Olympic cycle because we offered him a pro contract. He went pro with us, but it was the right decision. You know, by the time they'd gone to the Olympics, he was well on in his professional career, and now he was undisputed. He was unified with me. So it's, I think it's the right decision. You should be going pro at 21, really. If you're a middleweight, you should be going pro latest 22, 23. Because you need 4 years of development. And if you're 26, 27, and you start fighting for world titles around that age, then you've got 3-4 years of maximising your career. If you're turning pro at 25, 26, you're not getting... Yeah, George Groves, he was retired at 30 years of age. He had the Froch fights. He had the Froch fight. The first one was 24. My dad was a world champion at 24. Like, it doesn't pay you well to be an amateur. It does not pay you well at all. And if you've got ambitions of making money out of boxing and you want to be world champion, you need to go pro earlier because you're gonna... Any of these guys that go to the Olympics and stuff, when they're 19 years of age, they can still beat they can still beat every single journeyman in the country. You know what I mean? Probably blindfolded. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's not teaching them now. It's just you need those fights to be exposed to the audience, and after time, then you start fighting other people that can fight back a little bit, but you're still better than them, and then you might get 6 rounds in and you're getting tested. But if you're 22, 23 years of age, you're getting pushed back. You've got the physicality of a man anyway to be able to stand. You know, be able to. If you're 18, then you're probably too weak. But if you're 23, 24, you're able to sort of have a go. And most domestic people that fight for domestic titles, they don't have a lot of boxing ability. They just have physicality. So if you're able to match some physicality at 23, 24, and you're better than them skill-wise, you should be fighting for titles then, domestic ones, and then cracking on because. You know, it does not favour the oldest sport. I mean, you know, we we see it all the time. When people start slipping, they get knocked out. I'm gonna have to shoot because my car's about to run out.
Absolutely. Shane McGuigan, thanks for speaking to the Boxing Voice.
Enjoy the video, feel free to hit the like, subscribe, and share. As always, if you want to support us to the next level, head over to the patreon.com/ThaBoxingVoice. We have tons of exclusive from Border Wars, from title, betting shows, the list goes on and on and on. But in addition to that, if you guys have questions for fighters, trainers, and promoters, this is where you can submit them. We will run out, get these questions answered, and put it back on the show just for you guys. Appreciate it. Peace.